with your hosts, Andrew Romanella.
Regular people should be in the Olympics so you can see how actually hard what some of these people are doing are. Because I don't think I'm good enough in this spot based on my own personal mental health, so I can't continue. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ozsports.com. Broadcast live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter live. I am Andrew Romanella, and I will be here with you for the next 30 minutes on this Friday, March 1st, 2024. Welcome to another new month in the 2024 calendar year. And I don't know how other people feel about this, but I feel this way every single year. Now, I am a baseball coach. So once we get into the spring season, things start to fly generally to begin with. But it felt like just yesterday, I was popping bottles and celebrating the start of 2024. Then it felt like the day after that was the day I started on 12-ounce sports radio. And then it felt like the day after that was our first practice of the baseball season. But nope, that was over 8 weeks ago. It is March, ladies and gentlemen, and the positive about that is we are right around the corner, at least in the Northeast, that is, because I don't know where all my listeners are from, but in the New Jersey metropolitan area, I am looking at sun right now at 7 o'clock in the morning, not fully, but we are there, and then the better part, which I know everyone can probably agree with, when the sun goes down later, it's like, oh man, I'm driving home from work at like 5:22 and you still have to wear sunglasses and it's not pitch black. Oh, that is the greatest feeling in the entire world. And I don't care what Punxsutawney Phil or whatever the hell the guy's name is, that's the groundhog that's supposed to quote unquote tell us what the weather's going to be for the next 6 weeks. He feels like he was really wrong. Like he feels like, at least from my vantage point, it's been a lot more winter than spring from Punxsutawney Phil or whatever the hell the groundhog's name is, okay? And before we dive into sports today, I had this one point for everybody, okay? Call it like your bonus straight off the roam. I'm going to go ahead and say that Punxsutawney Phil, the groundhog, and any meteorologist out there in America could be considered as reliable as each other. Like, I believe in the weather report as much as I believe in Punxsutawney Phil telling me that spring is going to exist for 6 weeks, or it's going to come 6 weeks earlier, or winter's going to stay for 6 more weeks, or whatever. Like, whatever we thought in 1806 that a groundhog animal coming out of the ground is going to dictate what the weather is, wild to me. I would definitely trust the Farmer's Almanac way more than I would trust the gopher, hog, whatever, out of the ground. But I just had to say that because every weather report I've ever looked at in my lifetime, I don't think has ever necessarily come 100% true. So I've decided now today that outside of being a baseball coach and outside of being a radio host, I think that the next job I want to put on my list is weatherman or Punxsutawney Phil, because I could be wrong every day as a weatherman, still have a job, and be on TV. And the gopher, whatever, hog thing, he lives a life. He lives a life. People film him once a year. Other than that, he can sleep all day. He could be wrong, and it don't matter. So thank you, weathermen and groundhog, for just absolutely having no backbone, and not being able to give us the hard facts and truth. I'll give you the hard facts here on the Rome Show. You need to head to tickets.12ozsports.com and get the tickets for your next event, play, sporting event, concert this summer, whatever. Tickets.12ozsports.com. Use the promo code ROME. That's ROME. at checkout, tickets.12ozsports.com. And hey, head over to wideworldshop.com while you're at it and check out anything on the list. We got Be Electric, we got You Got This, and we got so much more. But I think it's all great stuff that you'll like at wideworldshop.com, plus the exclusive Rome Show radio line, right? So you want the logo on the items, on the good stuff, wideworldshop.com, and we have a promo code there as well. It's 12OZ Sports. All right. So if you head to tickets.12OZ Sports, the promo code's Rome. If you head to wideworldshop.com, the promo code's 12OZ Sports. So we just made life really easy for you. No matter where you go, head there. Now, without further ado, we go around. All right, so Caitlin Clark has decided that she is going to declare for the WNBA draft. I think this is a great decision. She has one more year of eligibility left, and everyone's probably like, how does she have one more year eligibility left? She's a fourth year, blah, blah, blah. Stop. Don't forget about COVID, people. Do not forget about COVID. And the messed up thing about the COVID season that people tend to forget about is it wasn't just 2020. It was, in a lot of ways, in a lot of sports, and for a lot of players, also 2021. So I think that's something that kind of gets lost in the shuffle there. So either way, Caitlin Clark still has one more year left of eligibility, but she has decided that she's going to forego that eligibility and she's going to go to the WNBA draft, which I think is absolutely 1,000% the right decision. Caitlin Clark put out on social media a really nice thing about it, but we have a few quotes here that we'll read for you that will give you the clear picture for Caitlin Clark moving forward. Clark said this: while the season is far from over and we have a lot more goals to achieve, it will be my last one at Iowa, Clark wrote. I am excited to be entering the 2024 WNBA draft. Now, for a quick second, can we think about how awesome it is that now the WNBA has gotten to a point in its 25 or 30 year existence that Division I women's athletes feel that it's so inclined and so covered and so important that they need to let people know when they are declaring for the WNBA draft. Now, I do understand that players like Caitlin Clark or Sabrina Ionescu or I think it was Asia Davis, the girl from South Carolina that pretty much put South Carolina on the map, and now they just haven't stopped. There are certain players, like Paige Bucher might be once she's done with UConn. There are certain players that in that game, in men's or women's basketball, it does not matter. You're just going to know about Zion Williamson, right? Those types of players, you're going to know, okay? So I think that there is a varying line of difference between the player leaving the school and choosing to go to the draft and, not. But at the end of the day, I even think that 15, 20 years ago, the coverage of the women's basketball in college would not have been as great, right? I think Kelsey Plum probably went through it. Like, think about how much coverage we have right now of Caitlin Clark breaking the same records that Kelsey Plum broke, 8 years ago? I mean, not that long ago. Same media still existed. Same social media existed. So part of it is the time period, but a lot of it is the athlete. And give Caitlin Clark the credit. Like, she is must-see television. She is what I would equate to Stephen Curry at Davidson right as he started to become a household name. When Curry was at Davidson, there was so much talk about his shooting prowess, how unique it was, how comfortable he was from shooting anywhere on the floor. And then the question started to become, can Steph Curry do it in the National Basketball Association? You're also starting to hear some of those comments come out about Caitlin Clark. Will this be sustainable in the WNBA? Can she do this when she gets to the professional level? Well, before we break that down, that's just the equation that I see here. But the point being made is the fact that we are talking about it, the fact that Caitlin Clark is declaring for the WNBA draft, the fact that it matters that much, and the WNBA is getting paid enough that they can start actually just playing in that league and getting good TV deals and having more fans in the stands, and those women being treated like the pro league they should be treated as, is freaking awesome. Caitlin Clark continued on with this. It is impossible for me to fully express my gratitude to everyone who has supported me during my time at Iowa. My teammates, who made the last 4 years the best, my coaches, trainers, staff, who will always let me be me, Hawkeye fans who have filled Carver every night, and everyone who came out to support us across the country, especially the young kids. So kudos to Caitlin Clark. Awesome for her. Right now, the current projected number 1 pick is going to be by the Indiana Fever, okay? So that will be who picks possibly would most likely, I mean, again, why wouldn't you pick Caitlin Clark as the number 1 overall pick in the WNBA draft? You got to stay tuned with us, though, for the back end of the Rome Show today on Friday, March 1st, because our daily data will be the conclusion of that conversation about Steph Curry and Caitlin Clark comparisons. We continue, though. The NFL Combine started yesterday or Wednesday, whatever, and it's a whole lot to do about nothing. And the reason why I put it on Around the Wide World today is just simply to say one thing. Why? Why do we have the NFL Combine? Why? Why do we even waste our time doing any of this stuff? I watched the defensive line portion yesterday for like 10 to 15 minutes. First off, I didn't know any of them necessarily, right? Like, it's not like I was like, oh, Bobby Achine and Stevie Wonder, whatever. I don't know, right? But they get up to their little drill thing, and then the stats go across the line at the bottom, and it's like, okay, I'm smart enough to know that this kid had 12 sacks in the ACC last year at Clemson. Kid's probably pretty good. So do I really need to watch him smack right back, sprint 10 yards that way? Like, what are we doing? Seriously, though. Like, what are we really doing? Then every single athlete's going to have a pro day anyways. So I think that it's time now, National Football League, and I know why they're doing it. They're not doing it for the coaches. They're not doing it for the scouting. They're doing it for the fans. The Combine is for the fans, and I think it's dumb, right? Like, just have your pro day at your school. If ESPN wants to cover each pro day, fine. But I think to watch these guys on television and to have this be this whole big deal, like we're analyzing their body fat and they're asking them these dumb questions in interviews, and it's too much. It's too much. Each team, do your own freaking research. Go to each school that you want to go to. Go scout the players you want to scout. I don't need to watch these kids do regular AF practice drills and then say, oh, this is going to make me want to draft him. And then on top of that, right, the best players don't even do it anyways. So who cares? So I just think that now that the NFL Combine has started, it gives me a chance to say it's stupid and we should just stop it. And just go do your pro day like every other sport does. Brings the pro coaches and scouts to the university and does your pro day. So NFL, let's make that change because I think it's really stupid. Staying in the National Football League and going. The tenure for Zach Wilson looks to be over in the New York Metropolitan area. That is wild. We never thought we'd see the end of it, but I think we've seen the end of it. Zach Wilson has been given the ability by general manager Joe Douglas to go out and seek a trade. The rumors are that there will not be much more than a 5th, 6th, or 7th round pick coming back to the New York Metropolitans from this Zach Wilson trade. I don't disagree with that either. I think, though, that somebody wants this kid. And I'm not saying wants him like, oh, I'm going to turn Zach Wilson into the next Hall of Famer. Not necessarily at all. But you know, just as well as I do, that the egos in the National Football League usually roll towards if that kid has talent. I believe I'm a good enough coach to make that guy great. So I'm going to bring him here and make him great, right? And especially at the quarterback position, because there's probably only 10 to 12 guys, 10 to 12 guys that you might put on your roster right now and say, I want that guy as my quarterback in the National Football League. So if you don't have that guy at all, I don't know what the hell's going on out here. If you don't have that guy at all, right? Well, then it's like, well, who's the next closest thing? Well, if I think that I'm good enough to make this guy better with all of this talent, well, then I'm going to bring that guy in, especially if I can get him for a 5th or a 6th round draft pick. So interesting to see where the next step of the Zach Wilson saga ends up. But I could probably tell you this right now. I bet he is significantly better in his next location than he was with the Metropolitans. One more. The PWHL will be entering its first playoffs this I guess coming spring. I don't know what to call it. Is it winter? Is it spring? I have no idea. Either way, the Professional Women's Hockey League will be entering its first postseason coming up here shortly, and the PWHL has decided they will not look to expansion going into next year's season. The biggest team that they seem to have a struggle with, they have 4 teams in Canada and 4 teams in the United States, was the team that is centered around the metropolitan area because unfortunately, no matter what, the issue is if you have a team that is located around New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut, you are going to be fighting with the New York Rangers, the New Jersey Devils, and the New York Islanders, especially in the hockey market. Then you saturate it with the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks. Then you saturate it with the start of baseball season for the Yankees and the Mets. And then you get into the football conversation with the Jets and the Giants. So right now you have a team that's playing some games in New York and some games in Connecticut. Like, that's very hard to do. So that team's got some questions to answer. But some of the Canadian teams were upwards of $8,000 to $10,000 people in attendance. So one, it's great success to see that the PWHL is moving to the postseason, which means that they feel like they've done enough to complete the first season and not cease operation. But I also think it's smart that they're choosing not to look into expansion, which was the original plan. Get through year number 1, look for expansion in year number 2. Don't do that. If you think you have a good enough product that could sustain, right? Think WNBA we just talked about with Caitlin Clark. You're now 25 years behind that if you are the PWHL. So you have to look at that and say, the WNBA just kicked it in the same location for 6 to 10 years. Good enough for people to keep coming. Good enough to keep the league in existence, but not good enough to take it to the next step. Then all of a sudden, when the buttons started to be pressed in the right motion, oh, wow, the WNBA is now where it's at today. And like I said earlier, those ladies can earn salaries. They're on television a lot. They're known, and they're starting to get those gyms more filled. So I think great decision out of the PWHL. And if you have a chance, check it out because it is really good. And they're covering it a little bit on ESPN too. Sometimes more difficult to find, but just go to the PWHL website and you'll be able to find where you can watch those games. So kudos to the Professional Women's Hockey League, who will be entering shortly their first postseason. Hey, we will enter this commercial break, but on the flip side, we will go straight off the Rome where I talk about stupidity in fanship right now in 2024, and we give you your daily data, which is a breakdown on Steph Curry's last year in college / career in college and what his rookie season looked like in the National Basketball Association, and do we believe Caitlin Clark can do the same? Andrew Romanella here on the Rome Show in the morning on 12OZsports.com. We'll be back after this commercial break.
Yeah.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
You're now listening to A-Rod Music.
That is right. It is the Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com. We are broadcast live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter Live. The Rome Show 1 is the Instagram and the Twitter if you'd like to get in on the action, or at Coach_Romo24 Instagram. Twitter, wideworldshop.com, promo code 12OZ Sports. Wideworldshop.com is the sponsor of the Rome Show podcast, which you can find wherever you listen to your podcast. Just search Rome Show podcast. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for both the question of the day and your straight off the Rome. So first, with the question of the day, it is sitting behind me on the whiteboard. If you can see it, hopefully you already answered it. Get us on any platform you want to. What is your favorite candy? That is right. What is your favorite candy? I asked that because, one, anyone that knows me knows I'm like addicted to candy. But two, my girlfriend got these peach rings yesterday from Walmart. And we had gotten peach rings from the dollar store a week or two ago. And it's funny, right? Like you go to CVS or you go to the store to buy your candy, and generally with a lot of things, right? Like Q-tips is a great example. You call it a Q-tip, but really it's a cotton swab, but the brand identity is so large that you're like, I have to get the Q-tips. Well, with candy, I really feel like that. I don't know how often I want to buy off-brand candy. Like, I want Skittles. Skittles are my favorite candy. If you made an off-brand Skittle, I would burn every pack I ever saw. Starburst. If you made an off-brand Starburst, you ain't getting my mouth to eat that off-brand Starburst. Like, it's not happening, okay? Well, with some other things, gummy bears, the sugary candy, those strips with the sugar on them, gummy worms, all that stuff, I feel like there's a wide variety of brands that you could attempt. Well, recently, trying to save money, we've been attempting the brands that are not known. And we found these peach rings yesterday from Walmart that were quite possibly the best peach rings I've ever tasted. And they were in rival to the dollar store peach rings. So Fresh Value or Value Farm or It's the Value Bag, whatever they're called, in either location are phenomenal. So last night, as I was crushing these peach rings, getting ready for this show and the Centenary Baseball Series this weekend, I said to myself, I got to know, am I crazy? Like, first off, I love Skittles to the nth degree, but I was just curious as to what other people wanted from a sugar fix out there. So get us on Instagram and Twitter and let me know what's your favorite candy out there, because I'm going to let you know what's on top of my mind right now, which we on this show call Straight Off the Rome. All right, so we had another stupid situation go on from a fanship standpoint over the weekend in Texas, okay? Texas played Texas Tech, and Texas beat Texas Tech 81-69 in what obviously is a gigantic rivalry. So things got heated, and there was some player shoving and all that stuff. But what really bothered me the most was midway through the second half, there was a play that happened where the officials had to go to the table and they had to say to themselves, all right, we got to look at this replay and we got to figure out, is this a flagrant one? Is this a flagrant two? Should this guy be ejected from the game? Like, what's our thought process here? While the officials were reviewing the play, fans started throwing objects on the floor, including water bottles, which some being filled, obviously, because if it's an empty water bottle, it ain't traveling. And security had to start escorting fans out of the arena. Now, why is this my straight off the Rome? Because I am so sick and tired of the conversation about fans crossing a line. I mean, like, this is now the 37th time since the start of the 2024 year that we've had a conversation about somebody in a sport that's a spectator crossing a line. It's got to stop. Now, for those at home that may not realize, the acronym or the abbreviated word of fan really comes from the word fanship, okay? Or excuse me, fanatic, right? So you're either fanatical or you have heavy fanship, right? That's why you use the word fan. Well, fanaticals with their fanship are idiots. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't find it cool to talk crap to another person because they choose an affiliation of that team and not your team. Like, I'm sorry. I just think it's so dumb. Like, so I'm going to possibly beat somebody to a living pulp or concuss somebody by throwing bottles onto the field or make somebody's life miserable who paid money to come watch this game because they have a favorite team that's on the floor or the field or the ice or whatever. And I'm going to get a lawsuit against me, or I'm going to, like, the streaking thing, never understood that. Like, is that cool? Like, no one remembers you. No one thinks you're funny. It's actually the opposite. If somebody hops on a field that is streaking, I am praying that the security guard has a Ray Lewis level angle on this guy and can absolutely torch them with his right shoulder dropped. That's what I'm praying for. Like, if you streak at a game that I'm at, I could care less who you are. I'm actually hoping for concussion protocol and a layout knock that goes viral on Instagram because you're a loser. You are a loser if you streak on a field, if you throw water bottles at the players, or you try and fight other fans because of fanship. I'm sorry, but that is absolutely ridiculous. Here's the other side of the coin here. These are all people that are adults. Like, the chances are that this is a 6 to 10-year-old, 12, 13, 14-year-old kid is very low level. This is an a-hole that's legal on the drinking age, that can drive a car, that can vote for the president of the United States. This is somebody that's supposed to, like, be a mature person in our society, launching water bottles at college kids. There is no place for that in sports. It's embarrassing. So I don't know what needs to be done with fanship in the 2024, 25, 2023 era. The last 5 years, essentially. You've seen some stupid... People are dying at games over being the fan of a sports team. That is ridiculous. So it's either that or these sporting events are going to have to start to think about not letting alcohol be sold at the events. That's a fact. Because if people cannot handle their alcohol to the point of not possibly hurting somebody with what a filled water bottle is a deadly weapon from 15 rows up. I mean, what? So I am so tired of it. I think it's embarrassing. It's jokey. It is childish. And it's something that should not exist in sports anymore. And something serious needs to be done. And it's the same as us talking about the court storming last week. How are we putting these high-level athletes in all of this danger by fans? By fans over regular occurrences like bad fouls and people getting heated on the floor and somebody winning a game against a good team. It's like, okay, people, let's grow the hell up here. What are we doing? This is so insanely embarrassing. It's off the charts. So I need to see a change in that because I cannot continue to look at it. I will finish with some daily data. Oh, that's the crickets. We don't want those. That's what we want, a rim shot, because Steph Curry, if you did not know, graduated from Davidson University in 2009. During Steph Curry's career at Davidson, he was elite level. Here are the numbers. 104 games played. He averaged 25.3 points per game. During Steph Curry's time at Davidson, he shot 46.7% from the field and 41% from three-point land, helping lead Davidson on a run in the NCAA tournament during his senior year. He then was drafted 7th overall by the Golden State Warriors, and he went on to do this. In his rookie season, Steph Curry played in 80 games, averaging 17.5 points per game, 5.9 assists per game, and 4.5 rebounds per game. He shot 46% from the field in his rookie season and 44% from beyond the arc, averaging 4.8 three-point attempts per game, knocking down roughly just over 2 per game. Steph Curry was elite level in college and in the pros. And his numbers at little old Davidson, or at a program that's not as revered as Duke and North Carolina and all these others, pretty much translated really freaking well in his first year in the National Basketball Association. So I tell you that to say this. I think Caitlin Clark is going to be good. I think Caitlin Clark is going to be the next coming of Steph Curry in women's basketball. She's probably going to lead Iowa as far as they can go with her own right hand, not win a national championship because she's at a school that is not national championship winning ready, but she's the best player in the country. We're all going to have second doubts about her because of her size or what she did in college or where she played and all that other stuff. Then she's going to turn out to be a perennial Hall of Famer, changing the game from beyond the three-point line. I hopefully am changing the game on the airwaves. This has been the Friday edition of the Rome Show here on 12ozesports.com. I just want to let the people know that next week, I don't know if I will be here live. The baseball team's headed to Virginia. Pack the buses, pack the bags. We are headed to Virginia to play some baseball against Roanoke University. I will be back, however, I could tell you, definitely on Friday of next week, Monday through Thursday. I know the team at 12OZ Sports will cover me, so do not worry. You still tune into the Rome Show every morning at 7 a.m. because there will be some greatness happening every morning, 12ouncesports.com, 7 a.m. I just want to let you know that I will be in Virginia making people great and hopefully winning 3 baseball games. Everybody out there, please enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for tuning into the Rome Show. Head to wideworldshop.com. Use the promo code 12OZ Sports. And until I speak to you again in the month of March, Andrew Romanella. Peace!
Thank you for listening.